So every company today is almost represented on the web. And almost every consumer will write their opinion about companies. And it doesn't matter if you're a big company or a small company, you are affected by what your customers are writing about you on your web, because so many consumers use reviews. So we see that when companies do get negative reviews, they tend to react very personal and emotional about the fact that somebody anonymous usually, wrote something bad about their company. But it will happen. What they have to remember is that a negative review in itself is not necessarily very damaging, because every consumer knows that no company is perfect. We make mistakes every day. All companies make mistakes. What matters is, how do you react when you become aware that you have made a mistake? How do you react when somebody is writing that on a website? So as a consumer, you want to buy from a company who goes to a great length to rectify mistakes. So what companies have to remember is they do not only reply to the person that left the review, they're replying to hundreds or thousands of people who are reading that review. So I usually recommend to companies that they always reply to the criticism and really think about, if they were a consumer, how would they like to see this reply written? Do the company go to war with the person who wrote the review and say, oh, you forgot to read the terms and conditions on page 17? It's really your fault. Or do they say, oh, we're really sorry about that you ordered your item yesterday and you only got it one day later. Here's a bottle of wine. We want to make sure you are still satisfied with us. Also, what we see is sometimes companies, they go to great length with the power of attorney to follow up on the negative review. They might go after the person who left the review or the review site. And that's really a bad idea, because they turn one negative review from one disgruntled customer into an enemy for life. And the company might succeed in removing that one negative review, but it's very likely that the person who left the review will then go in to 10 other websites under an IP blogger and just write something that's even worse. So, and now the story suddenly is, you don't care about your customers, you're trying to cover up that you made a mistake. So what companies should do, what we at Trustpilot recommend that all companies do, is that they invite all their customers to leave a review, so that they also mobilize all the happy people that would maybe otherwise not have left their opinion. So in this way they create the most accurate image of what their actual customer service is. And also by inviting customers to leave reviews, you are perceived as being much more forthcoming and having a friendly dialogue. Imagine if I had given you a bad service experience, and then you're about to pick up the phone and you're very disgruntled and you're writing on Twitter, oh, these guys are useless. Then if you get an email from me where it's like, hey, how are you? I just wanted to check up on things. By now you should have received your item. We just want to make sure that everything is okay. Then that diffuses your anger, and because it's a hand that the company has reached out to you. And we see that the dialogue becomes much more friendly and much more constructive, then people are really willing to give constructive advice instead of online criticism. So I think the online shopping experience today is characterized by an enormous amount of transparency. What that means is that it's absolutely evident for everybody how a company is performing. It doesn't matter if you're a big company. It's still very evident on the web what you're good at and what you're bad at. Now, what that means is that every company must focus on customer service, because it's more rewarding than it ever has been to have this emphasis. In old times, companies and consumers were seen as opposing forces, where companies would try to almost trick consumers to get their money. But I think that's a very old school way of looking at things. I think today, Peter, as the company owner of Trustpilot. I strive every day to give as good customer service as I can. And I, Peter, as the consumer, I want to have a good service. So I think there's a mutual interest there. And I think through the medium reviews, all companies can go out and say, please, dear consumer, tell me how I'm doing. I'd like to know because I'd like to get better. And we as consumers then have an obligation to give constructive criticism to the companies, but also to tell them when they did well. So that in this way, by giving honest criticism, but also honest praise, we can make sure that the good companies are rewarded for the good service, so that companies are not chosen because they have the slickest marketing campaign or because they have the lowest prices, but so that companies are chosen because they're the best at what they do.